Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to begin our service with a little bit of music, the words of Ma Yafeh Hayom, how wonderful it is today. Because we have Shabbat, we are on page 10.
Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Nice to see you. I'm Rabbi Joel Nickerson.
And Cantor Lisa Peicott.
Before we go any further, introduce yourself to the people around you. Say Shabbat Shalom in front of you, behind you, around you. Wave to them. Really nice to have you all here this evening. We have B'nai Mitzvah families. We have some guests. So lots going on tonight. Lots going on, of course, in the world this week as well. We'll talk about some of that later. Big week in my house. My oldest just had her last day of high school yesterday, so that's big. And earlier this week, I was with Beth Moskowitz over there, and we were up in Sacramento on Monday and Tuesday. A group of 700 of us from around the state for basically the largest state gathering of Jewish organizations in California. There are all these organizations coming together to go lobby in Sacramento. And so we had the opportunity to go and lobby elected officials, both in the Assembly and in the Senate, about Jewish-related issues. And it was really an incredible experience. You can talk to Beth about it afterwards. She and I were talking when we were up there. There's a synagogue in the valley called Valley Beth Shalom, and they brought like 33 people. And so Beth and I have decided, at least with my competitive spirit, that we need to beat them next year. So I'm hoping that there will be a whole group of us who can go up there and lobby on behalf of not only our community, but really issues that are important to the Jewish community across this state. And again, when we think about ways that we can tangibly try and make a difference in a world that seemingly feels as though we can't do anything, it was nice to start the week in that way. And at the same time, now we come to the end of the week where we think about all the tangible successes or challenges we faced during the week, and this is the time for us to let go of all of that and just enter a different space and to realize that we can be together as community, we can sit with either friends, family, or strangers and kind of be immersed in our tradition and hopefully find some peace with that. So we're going to begin with Shalom Aleichem on page 24, welcoming in Shalom, welcoming in peace and welcoming in the angels of the Shabbat.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei We'd like to invite our B'nai Mitzvah families. We have Talia and her family, and Aggie and her family, and Noah and his family, his parents and his siblings. And we invite you guys up to literally bring the light into our community as we enter into Shabbat together. that light is kindled, we're going to welcome in that light of Shabbat 3 times as we join together in our blessing over our Shabbat candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Mazel tov to our B'nai Mitzvah families. We are now going to turn to Lecha Dodi on page 20. Lecha Dodi has a series of verses, of 9 verses, but the verses bring together different ideas of holiness. So last night and today was actually a holiday in the Jewish calendar, a relatively new Jewish holiday called Yom Yerushalayim. It's the holiday that celebrates the reunification of Jerusalem after the Six-Day War in 1967. And Jerusalem plays such an interesting role in our liturgy, and especially on Friday nights for Shabbat. In Lecha Dodi, the first 2 stanzas and the last stanza, all about Shabbat as holiness and time. And then all the middle stanzas talk about holiness in space. And that space is personified by Jerusalem. One of my professors in college, Reuven Kimmelman, taught that in Kabbalistic literature, space and time are not seen as different dimensions, but they are actually all one. And so tonight, as we sing the words of Lecha Dodi together, we bring the holiness of Shabbat with the holiness of space of Jerusalem, even halfway around the world. We are feeling that holiness of space in our sanctuary tonight. Lecha Dodi is on page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekavela. Let's try that Lecha Dodi again. Lecha Dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekavela. Shabbat Mekabela. We rise and we're going to face the doorway in which we came in as we welcome Shabbat, as if it's a bride full of expectation and promise and joy and beauty. Boi v'shalom ateret ala, gam besimcha u'betzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Remain standing for our call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, page 28. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Barechu et Adonai hamevorach, Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed.
We'll remain standing for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. We're going to call up our B'nai Mitzvah, Noah and Talia and Aggie, to come up to the bima. They're going to lead us in the chanting of the Ve'ahavta. We are found on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושמעתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
So the Ve'ahavta shows that we show that love for God through teaching it to our children. And we always have this promise, a child's brought into the world, all of the good that they'll do. As clergy, we get to watch them grow up in our schools. We get to stand on the bima with them as they become bar or bat mitzvah. And we always say on the bima that we look forward to seeing all of the amazing things that you will do in your life. And God willing, we will see all of it, but some of them start to do it a little bit sooner than others. So we are honoring a very special member of this community, Leila Negrin. But in order to do that first, I would like to call up Leora Rakin, who's the founder and the executive director of the David Lepkowski Project and also the Great Niece, to tell us a little bit about this award that Leila is receiving and the work that she did.
It is a real honor for the David Lepkowski Project to be at Wilshire Boulevard Temple for the first time. Thank you so much, Cantor Peicott. Leila is going to be presented with the International Youth Courage to Educate Award, an extremely prestigious award based on students from all over the world. And you're going to find out why Leila is so deserving of that award a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to share with you a little bit about the David Lepkowski Project through this video.
There is a local art exhibit about the Holocaust that was created by a Holocaust survivor.
The artist has since passed away, but his story lives on through a program that uses his art to teach students about that dark time in history.
And his art documented life, specifically Jewish life.
His art depicts life before, during, and after the Holocaust, and his time as a prisoner in Siberia. It wasn't enough just to exhibit the art. We had to use the art as an educational opportunity. The first school at which we piloted our program, we went in and not a single student had ever heard of the Holocaust. And after our semester, these students were educating their community, their peers, and their families about David Lepkowski and the life and the time period in which he had lived. So after every workshop interactive experience with the student, it culminates in an exhibition to the larger community. So it's not just about doing a project-based program or multidisciplinary that includes the history and the art. It's also about exposing this to a larger audience where the students become the docents, and as docents, they educate their community, their peers, and their family.
Our hope is, and what we have seen through students' reactions to the project, is that it does in fact begin to shift their perspectives.
I feel like so much of what we learn is through a history book or through literature that I read in class. So learning about it through art gives a whole new context to it, and I'm able to relate to it in another way.
The project does that better than almost any other kind of engaged learning project I've worked with as a teacher of the Holocaust.
As a Jew, and in the light of anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial, these paintings and preservations of history is ultimately proof, especially because we'll be entering a generation where Holocaust survivors will no longer be with us.
We really had a workshop that showed us how to look deeper into the meanings of the paintings and the emotions of, you have to feel something. You can't just see a painting, you have to feel it.
Before this project, I didn't know what ghettos were. I never heard of the term, and I didn't know what gulags were.
I learned that hate is powerful. I learned that it can not only affect one person, it can affect all of the human race.
And from his art, I just really saw the pain that these people had went through. And it just taught me to be aware of what was happening at this time.
Especially high schoolers, I feel like learn a lot more when they're getting it from people their own age.
When I first touched upon the subject of the Holocaust, I didn't fully grasp what a mass genocide of Jews meant. I felt a roller coaster of emotions. In each painting we analyzed, whether it was a beautiful moment of melancholia through colors or anxiousness and worry in mood. Each showed a different emotion I could feel whenever I looked at that painting.
We need to not only understand how people died, but how they lived.
We designed a virtual reality experience for students of all ages and put on these goggles and step into 2 of his paintings. And inside you hear the story of the people of Vilna.
Not only did I get to look around and have a 360 view of what the space would look like, but I got to interact with the characters.
They're literally stepping into the past by leaping into the future.
The ultimate hope is that education ensures history does not repeat itself.
I never thought that living in America, especially as an immigrant, that I would see this level of anti-Semitism, specifically on college campuses.
We really want to educate on the past, show how we can use that in the present, and safeguard for the future.
This program asks students to do something incredibly mature, to engage with a painful chapter of world history, to empathize deeply, and to reflect honestly. It is an act of remembrance.
Now, with what's going on in the world and all this hate, our program is right here, right now, ready to go, and can address that in many, many schools.
Every single person is responsible for making sure this history is told again and again and again. That is your responsibility, it's my responsibility. We have come united to learn about the history of the Jews of Lithuania, how they lived and how they died, but that is not the end of the story. The story rests with you, the future, to educate your families, your community, and your peers.
With so much Jew hatred happening around the world, it's very easy to feel impotent. How can one person really make a difference? And so tonight, I want to tell you about Layla. Layla's going off to college. She's in 12th grade, but when she was in 10th grade, after October 7th, she decided to sign up and apply for the David Lavkovsky Project Student, Docent, and Leadership Training Program, a program that trains high school students to teach other students about Jewish history, the Holocaust, the consequences of anti-Semitism, and Israel through the lens of the artist David Lavkovsky. On graduating from this program, Layla was appointed an ambassador, and she took it upon herself, probably one of the most challenging tasks. She decided in 10th grade that she was going to bring the exhibit to her school, Archer School for Girls. That was in 10th grade. 2 years later, in January 27th, 2026, after countless emails, sometimes receiving many no's, sometimes just complete silence, Layla received permission to bring the exhibit documenting history through art to Archer School for Girls. An enormous achievement. If anybody has ever negotiated political bureaucracy, synagogue bureaucracy, school bureaucracy, Layla's up there with better than any UN diplomat. She was given permission to install and curate the exhibit for 1 week. During that week, every single student came through that exhibit, with Leila educating them through the art about Jewish history and the consequences of anti-Semitism. The exhibit proved so popular, it was extended to 7 weeks. When I think of true perseverance, of a true leader, of incredible courage, there is no student more deserving than Leila. The David Lavkovsky Project International Youth Courage to Educate Award is recognized not only by us, but also by Congress people, and you will receive these certificates, and senators. And it's so appropriate, Leila, that we honor you in Jewish American Heritage Month. Your contributions that you have made are enormous, they're impactful, they're valuable. And you show everybody the difference and the impact that one person can make. Leila, please come up here to receive your award.
I just wanted to share a little bit about how I got involved in this amazing organization and project. So I think what first sparked my interest was actually going to Browerman Elementary School, where every Yom HaShoah we'd hear a Holocaust survivor. And I was very interested in history at the time, and that's kind of what drew my interest into listening to these speakers and their stories, and it really inspired me to always listen. I know sometimes people zone out, but I was always listening 100%. And then kind of in 9th grade, I was doing a service project for my school. And when I was deciding what to do, I was like, I think I know exactly what I need to do and what I want to do. And that's when I decided to focus on Holocaust education. So I started volunteering at the Museum of Tolerance, and that kind of developed my more clear understanding of the history. And that's when I found the David Lavkovsky Project in 10th grade, an email from my school. And I looked on the website, and I think that's when really I was like, this is for me, this is what I want to do. And after the initial training, because it was so impactful to me, I was like, I know I need to bring this to my school. I need everyone in my community to be able to see this. And that's when I started trying to bring it to Archer, and I was able to this year for our International Holocaust Remembrance Day on January 27th, and I was just really appreciative that I could do that.
Mazel tov, mazel tov. Thank you very much, and Leila, mazel tov, thank you for your leadership, and I think we all can be inspired by the next generation when we have young women like her. So again, mazel tov.
Mazel tov, Leila. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about our prophet Miriam in the Torah, who famously, after the Israelites crossed the Red Sea to freedom, she is somebody who leads the entire people. She uses her voice to make a memory that is still on our lips today. So we will continue with that memory that she made through her art, through her song. With Mi Chamocha, we are on page 40.
Chamocha
את יעקב, וגלום יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל.
Amen. We rise now as the ark is open for our silent Amidah. We will begin together on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tekilatecha.
We continue silently, either using the words of the prayer book or your own silent reflection, and you may be seated once we close the ark.
Once you've completed your prayers, you may be seated. We are in our calendar year on the road to Mount Sinai. We're in between Passover and our next holiday, which is actually next week of Shavuot, where the Jewish people receive Torah and the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai. And during this time period, we are told to count the Omer, that we imagine that the ancient Israelites were on a spiritual journey of discovery in order to be ready for that moment of revelation. And this offering tonight is a reminder that what we received at Mount Sinai was the ability to be holy. It was the ability to bring kindness and compassion and love into the world through mitzvot, through the commandments of how it is that we walk through the world as Jewish people. And so we have the tools necessary. They were given to our ancestors thousands and thousands of years ago, and each one of us has that same capacity through work on ourselves, our own spiritual journey, the relationships that we have around us, to choose that holiness each and every day. Hear the whisper.
Be holy, hear the whisper, a quiet, gentle voice. Be holy, hear the whisper that helps us make the choice to be like God. To be like God. Be holy, hear the whisper, present every day. Be holy, hear the whisper. It teaches us the way to be like God. To be like God. HaKadosh Baruch Be holy, hear the whisper that guides each word and deed. Be holy, hear the whisper, reminding us we need to be like God. To be like God. Be holy, hear the whisper, the warmth of love's embrace. Be holy, hear the whisper, giving us the space to be like God. To be like God. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Be holy, hear the whisper.
With that, we are going to turn to the middle of page 253. Whether it's in a whisper or with our voices out loud, this is the time for us to offer a Misha Berach, a prayer of healing, for those in our own lives and in our community. We're thinking of Cynthia Allen and Bonnie Chiswick and Chaim David and Dahlia Bat-Farangi, Harvey Fein, Juliet Gottfried, Karina Wallen-Harar, Cindy Jacobson, Michelle Novak, Ann Patterson, Stephen Ricklin, Quincy Rose, Robert Bob, David Rudnick, Brenda Schwartz, Ansel Sloan, Shraga Stern, Deborah Wallen, Don Weiss, Phyllis Kramer-Wolf, Manashur Yehobian, Saeed Meir Yudim. If you're thinking of anyone you want to share their names, if you could just share those names out loud as my hand crosses the room. Think of all of them as we join together again, middle of page 253, Misha Berach.
Misha Berach, Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, veLeah, hu yevarech, veYirapeh et hacholim.
Amen. I just want to offer a warning. I know there are some children here. I am going to be talking about some disturbing things that came out in the news this week. So if you have a child here and you don't want them hearing some disturbing things, now would be the time to leave for at least a few minutes. So I just want to give people the opportunity I'll be done in like 30 minutes. I'm just kidding. It won't be that long. You can go get to the oneg before everyone else and have a little bite to eat. Okay. So, 2 reports came out this week. One was a 300-page document from a civil commission led by Dr. Kochav El-Chaim Levy on what Hamas did to women on October 7th and even after. And it cross-referenced eyewitness testimony with geolocation and with Hamas's own video footage, with documents, with forensic evidence, and it's one of the most serious documents of its kind ever assembled about sexual violence in war. And its most devastating new finding was that Hamas terrorists forced family members to perform acts on one another, using the most intimate bonds of families for their cruelty. And the report suggests that it's not only Hamas fighters who did this. This was also just Gazan civilians who also participated in this. And you probably didn't hear much about that report this week. What you probably heard more about, of course, was Nicholas Kristof's op-ed earlier this week in the New York Times, accusing Israel of systemic rape and sexual abuse of Palestinian prisoners. 14 testimonies, 12 of them anonymous, sources that in some cases appear to include Hamas propagandists presented as journalists or human rights monitors, and one of the most grotesque claims that Israeli guards train dogs to rape prisoners. A claim so extreme, so horrifying, and so lacking in serious verification that the fact that it appeared in the piece at all should trouble anyone who cares about truth. And I'll be honest with you about my week reading this. When the problems with Kristof's piece began piling up, I felt relief. And then I felt a little sick about that relief. Because at first, I saw the lies as a way out, a way to dismiss the whole thing, and not have to ask the harder question, which is, even subtracting the propaganda, even discounting the worst claims, even rejecting the grotesque equivalence between Israel and Hamas, is there real abuse happening in Israeli prisons? And the honest answer is probably yes. Not the systemic horror that Kristof is alleging, not the monstrous picture that's being painted, but also not nothing. Israel is made up of a country of human beings, and human beings, especially in wartime, especially in prison systems, especially in places that are filled with rage and trauma and power dynamics, human beings can do terrible things. And no country is immune, not Israel, not the United States. This week I listened to Daniel Hartman. His podcast is great, For Heaven's Sake is the name of it. And he opened a podcast about the Kristof piece by saying that when he read it, he wept. And then his partner on the podcast, Yossi Klein Halevi, spoke about the anguish of trying to defend Israel when so much of the world seems unwilling to listen. And then the journalist and author Mati Friedman spent years documenting how stories of this conflict are made and they're unmade, and so I've been sitting with their words all week, and what I keep coming back to is that this moment is not only about Israel. It's also about reading. We are a people of the text, right? We are the people of the book. For 3,000 years, with every sacred source, we've asked who is speaking, what's their claim, what do they want us to believe, what are they leaving out, where's the deeper truth? We may be the people who invented commentary, we are certainly the people who inherited the discipline to refuse to take a single voice as the whole truth. For us, reading closely is not just an intellectual act, it is a moral obligation. And we're living in a moment now that seems to punish that discipline. A moment that wants everything to be all or nothing. A moment in which a 300-page report built on forensic evidence can pass quietly through the news cycle, while a 5,000-word op-ed built on uncorroborated testimony can become a global event. It's a moment in which accusation travels faster than evidence. A moment in which people are no longer asking, is this true? But only, does this confirm what I already believe? And that is not only a problem for Israel. That is a problem for the soul of our world. So this week, to me, is a reminder that we have to read carefully when others read sloppily. And we have to insist on the difference between accusation and proof, and between criticism and demonization. And we have to keep insisting on the difference between Hamas and Israel, even though that seems ridiculous that we have to do that. Because Hamas used sexual violence on October 7th as a strategy and as an ideology. And they filmed it, and they celebrated it, and they built their war around the destruction of the Jewish people. And if an Israeli prison guard commits an act of cruelty, that is not an expression of what Israel is supposed to be. It is a violation of what Israel is supposed to be. And that distinction matters. We cannot allow the world to create a moral equivalency between a terrorist organization that glorifies cruelty and a flawed democratic state that tries to hold itself accountable because it strives to stand for something bigger. Israel has its flaws, we know that, some real ones. But we don't defend Israel by pretending otherwise. We defend Israel by refusing to let it become unworthy of our defense. There's a kind of critique in which our love for Israel demands that Israel be better. And it's like saying, Israel, you are precious to me. Your safety matters. Your future matters. Your moral soul matters. And because you matter to me, I will not look away when something is broken. And I think that's the holy work that we all have to be doing right now. Because then there's another type of critique that uses Israel's flaws as a pretext to argue that Israel should not exist. And that's the kind of critique that doesn't want Israel to be better. It wants no Israel. And we have to be able to tell the difference between these two. So this is a hard time for us. It's hard because we are tired, and because we're still grieving, and because Jews everywhere around the world are feeling increasingly alone. And it's especially hard because the people who lie about us are sometimes pointing towards things that are real. And that's the trap, I think. Because if everyone said they were all false and everything they said was false, it would be much easier. But sometimes they take a real failure, a real abuse, a real moral problem, and they use it not to repair Israel, but to question Israel's very existence. There are few other peoples in the world that are treated the way we are treated. Right? Few other countries' failures are so quickly transformed into an argument against their right to exist. So we have to hold two truths at the same time. There are people trying to destroy us with lies. And Israel also still has things it has to fix. And that's the burden of being a serious Jew right now, is holding both of those things together. And we can't choose between defending Israel and demanding better from Israel. We have to do both. This week's Torah portion, as we heard, begins the Book of Bamidbar, which means the book of the wilderness. And the first thing that God tells Moses in this book is to count the people. And in the Hebrew, it says, Su'u et rosh kol adat b'nei Yisrael. It doesn't say actually count. It says, lift up the head of every person in the community of Israel. Don't simply count them, lift their heads, see their faces. The wilderness is a place where it's very easy to misread everything. The Israelites in this book are going to misread the manna and the spies. They're even going to misread Moses himself. And basically, Bamidbar, this book, is a 40-year tutorial in learning how to see clearly when nothing around you feels stable. And I feel like that's where we are right now. So in a week that has this serious report about October 7th, and it went almost unread, and then there's a deeply flawed op-ed becoming a global event, this is the time where we have to lift our heads. We have to see the victims of October 7th, whose suffering must not be erased. We have to see Palestinians who may have suffered real abuse, because even in our own pain, we cannot lose sight of their humanity. And we see Israel as she is. Yeah, she's flawed, but we love her, and she's ours. And so we have to lift one another's heads, and we have to read carefully and stubbornly, like Jews do. Shabbat Shalom. With that, a few announcements before we move into the concluding prayers of our service, and we're going to have one more speaker as well this evening. As was mentioned, Shavuot is next Thursday night, and so you can join us online. Some of us clergy are going to be looking at all 5 books of the Torah and offering some insights in what we think stands out from each of those 5 books. So you can do that from the comfort of your home, because we're going to be doing that on Zoom. And then next Friday night Shabbat is going to be special here as well. So go on our website, look at the emails. You can get all of that information. I'm going to say a little bit more about our oneg tonight a little later in the service. So we turn now to Aleinu. It's in the middle of page 282, and I ask all of you to please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
May be seated. We're moving into the last section of our service, which is the Mourner's Kaddish. And before we do that, I'm very delighted actually to have Randy Schwab here. He's the CEO of Mount Sinai Memorial Parks. And what's actually really interesting that you probably don't realize, and what I really appreciate about Mount Sinai, and by the way, I hopefully go there more often than you do, and is that even though Mount Sinai really is a place that we assume is really just for end of life once someone has passed away as a cemetery, they do a lot for the community, including offering a grant to organizations, to Jewish organizations in Los Angeles. We have been the beneficiary of that grant, and actually that grant was responsible this year for helping pay for our donor recognition events, for us to be able to honor those who give to our community. We did a special Shabbat for them. We've done some events in people's homes with some speakers. And it's because of the money from Mount Sinai that we were able to do that and have that as part of our experience. And I think that's a real testament to what is a broader understanding that we all should have about end of life and how end of life doesn't really begin at the end of life. And that there are other elements that are really important for us to be thinking about, even though we don't like to think about that experience itself. So I wanted to invite Randy Schwab up at this time to share just a few insights and some of his perspective from where he sits as the CEO. So thanks for being here. By the way, I've known Randy since he and I worked together at Temple Isaiah. He was the CEO of a synagogue and realized too many Jewish opinions of people alive, go work at a cemetery where you don't have to hear all those opinions. So. You have no idea how true you are.
Thank you, Rabbi. First off, I want to say that Layla, you are an amazing young woman. I met you just a couple of weeks ago. Mount Sinai is fortunate enough to have the amazing artwork that you so amazingly led our families, the community. You were a docent, and that project, the Lebkowski project, is actually on display right now at Mount Sinai. And Layla and her team of students did such an amazing job of explaining the artwork and the impact that it had on you. It really had an impact on all of us. So you're just an amazing young woman and certainly deserving of the honor that you received. But I will tell you that the last time that I spoke here was as a young bar mitzvah. I grew up in this building. My parents were on the board of this synagogue. My father started the men's group. My mother was the Simcha coordinator. I ran through the halls. They looked very different than they do now. And I learned what it was to model, to have a commitment to Jewish leadership. And today, I want to share just a few words about home, not just the one that we occupy in life, but the legacy we build for the future and the sacred spaces that hold our stories. You know, when I hear and you hear the word legacy, our minds often jump to a line in a will, or perhaps to that one drawer at home, you know, that drawer that has all the things that we keep, the important things, not knowing really where to find anything. But a true legacy is more than a financial transfer. In our tradition, we speak of the zechut avot, the merit of our ancestors. That's the ethical will, the practice of sharing our values, our life lessons, and our hopes with those who follow. It's truly our living legacy. It's in the wisdom we pass down at the dinner table, the integrity we show in our professional lives, and the intentionality with which we plan for the inevitable. By being proactive about our legacy, we aren't just preparing for the end, we're defining what our lives stand for right now, ideally before our children start defining us. Mount Sinai Memorial Parks has for decades serves as the cornerstone of the Jewish community. Our commitment extends far beyond the gates of our parks. We are active partners in ensuring the vibrancy of Jewish life today. Through our grant programs that the rabbi mentioned, we empower Jewish nonprofits to build their own foundations for the future, helping organizations secure their legacies. This year alone, which I'm sure you don't know, Mount Sinai provided funding for over 40 different Jewish institutions, from local synagogues, helping build legacy spaces like the new LA Holocaust Museum, to supporting music programs for our seniors at the LA Jewish Home, to feeding the hungry at One Big LA. One Big Kitchen, LA, to educating our kids and helping them attend summer camp, where they learn independence, resilience, and yes, how to even survive on just a little bit of sleep. Our grants help create legacies throughout the entire Jewish community. We see the fruits of these partnerships right here as well, right at Wilshire Boulevard Temple, through the Year of Gratitude that was made possible in large part to a grant from Mount Sinai. This initiative allows this community to pause, to reflect, and to celebrate the bonds that tie you together. A perfect example of legacy in action, and a rare moment to actually stop and just say thank you, before, of course, rushing on to the next thing. Choosing to plan for your legacy in advance, whether at Mount Sinai or anywhere else, is an act of love for your family. It removes the burden of difficult decisions during a time of grief and replaces it with the gift of certainty. It ensures that your values and your place within the Jewish community are honored in a way that is consistent with our heritage and your wishes, and perhaps save your children from having their most difficult family memories include the phrase, "What do you think Mom or Dad would have wanted?" When we combine the ethical will, the story of who we are, with the sacred space, the place where we are remembered, we create a complete legacy. We provide our children and grandchildren with a roadmap of our values and a peaceful destination where they can come to reconnect with those roots. Legacy is not something we leave behind. It's something that we weave forward. As we think about Wilshire Boulevard Temple and its history, let us be inspired to be as intentionally with our futures as the founders and supporters of this amazing synagogue were and are with ours. By planning today, we ensure that our voices continue to speak, our values continue to guide, and our memories remain a blessing for all time. During the Oneg, myself and my colleague, Leora Powers, will be available to answer any questions you might have. We have some handouts on how you can create your own ethical will, how you can start to write your own story, the process of documenting your own legacy. Thank you for allowing me to take a few moments of your time. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Randy. And I just want to reiterate the importance of planning ahead. I know Randy deals with this even more than we do as clergy, but it's so challenging for families to have to arrive at the end of someone's life in their family having not had any conversations, as difficult as those conversations may be or painful, and for them to either have to try and make decisions without that loved one, or to try and have to deal with even some of the logistics of a plot, of dealing with payment, all those things in the midst of grieving the loss of a loved one. And so I really do want to urge you to really plan early, have the conversations early. It will make a big difference in that end-of-life moment and that time where you or your family, of course, do not want to deal with all of those things. And so even though it's uncomfortable, it's really important to think about that ethical will and that ethical legacy you want to leave. And of course, all the financial stuff as well is important. So please keep that in mind. Also, in addition to Randy and his team at the Oneg, which they are sponsoring, thank you. We also have Josh Passman. Josh, raise your hand. Josh is a member of our community, and he is helping us here at Wilshire Boulevard Temple think about testamentary giving as well. A way for people, and you're not going to be asked to have to do this as you walk out the door, but really just to find out what does it mean to leave a legacy not only for your family, but if you are showing up here at Wilshire Boulevard Temple on a regular basis, this is a way for you to give to the community without it hitting your pocketbook now, but a way that you can be remembered and also can support this synagogue even when you're no longer here. And there are a lot of ways of doing that, and Josh can talk to you about that, and you could just learn more about that. And also Rachel Fleischer, I don't know if she's in the room, but we have another congregant who also puts together videos of memories of families and helps document people's stories so that you can keep that as well. So lots of things tonight for you to just experience and think about. And so with that, we're going to move to what has become a tradition here before the Mourner's Kaddish, of just taking a few moments for people to share a name, but not just a name of someone you're remembering, whether it's their yard site, whether they've passed away recently, or whether you're just thinking about them tonight in this space. A chance to not only say their name, but what's a piece of their legacy that they have left behind with you. So just to give us a little sense of who they were, because we read a lot of names every week on the Kaddish list. We've been around for a very long time, and so the list continues to grow, and this is our way of not only sharing names, but linking names with stories, and it's come to become a powerful piece of the evening. So just if there are a few people who want to share, you just have to raise your hand, and great.
This is the yahrzeit of my father, Leonard Koenig, who lived to the actually 2 weeks before his 98th birthday, with all of his cognitive facilities, and it was just his body that began to give out. And I'm just so thankful, because I lost my mother at a very early, she was very young to die. To pass. But my father was able to give so much love to my grandchildren and to our family, to be there for so many simchas, and to live through a lot of, he lived through colon cancer and heart failure, all of this, and he just kept going, like resilience, like a cartoon. And his gift to me, I feel, was the gift of music. He was a saxophone player who played in the Catskills and told a lot of stories about those days, and a wonderful musician. And I feel like he left this as a legacy to me and also to my grandchildren.
My name is Lori Dworsky, and my mom, Sylvia Dworsky, died about 2.5 months ago, and she was just shy. She would have been 92, May 27th, and one of her caregivers asked her, "What do you want to be known for?" And we have it on video, and she said that I was kind, and she was very kind and very funny and very loving, and I miss her very much, and I just wanted to say
that. So my grandpa, we called him Papa, and I really liked flying drones with him. Yeah, we did that together a lot.
My name is Maureen Tucker, live in Houston. My mom, Rosalind Unger, we just lost her on May 5th, 5 weeks shy of 101. She lived an amazing, full life till the end. She was originally from Miami Beach. That's where I was born. She was the director of JNF for over 25 years, traveled to Israel, met Moshe Dayan, Golda Meir, all the dignitaries there. She lived in Houston, then moved to Houston with my dad, lived an amazing life there. She was a prolific knitter, besides reader and this and that. She was a greeter on Friday night at Beth Yeshurun, our synagogue, for many, many years. Everybody knew her. And she was, like I was saying, huh? She worked in the gift shop. She worked at the hospital greeting, people there. But she was a prolific knitter and knitted. And so, at her celebration of life, we did not have your standard funeral. Rabbi, I don't know if you know David Rosen, Rabbi Rosen, he loved Mom as they all did, and we made this a celebration of her life. It was beautiful, and we all wore scarves that she knitted. And she just left an amazing legacy, and I can only say I was very proud to be her daughter, and she was a wonderful great-grandma that the kids knew, and I have no complaints. She's just an amazing woman, and we should all be so blessed. Amen. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you for those beautiful stories and memories. So we're going to turn now to page 294. First, I'll read the names, and then you'll have the opportunity to add any other names to this list. We're thinking of Francia Bailey, Ruth Block, Jerry Lederer, Bertha Shapira, Michael Smook, and Alexandra Weiss. Those are connected to our community, people who've passed away in the last month. And then yahrzeits that have occurred from this past week: James Leo Barbanel, Edmund Bastheim, William Barrelson, Carl Kovitz, Bertha Davidoff, Samuel Dickman, Betsy Dreisen, Sonia Egels, Burton Allen Eisenberg, Edith Falk, Charlotte Fenning, Jerome Fleischman, Millicent Friedman, Jacqueline Furman, Samuel Goldberg, Michelle Joy Gomberg, Charlotte Clayman Green, Tony Greenberg, Jules Green, Marvin Gussman, Ben Habibi, Warner Heineman, Magda Hoffman, Alberta Shield Kalish, Theodore Kapnick, Jess Katz, Ruth Katz, Laura Keith, Stanley Kirshner, Barbara Klenner, Leonard Koenig, Beatrice Commissar, Samuel Corin, Jack Crevoy, Arnold Kronstadt, David Lubitz, Philip Mahn, Harry Mankoff, Kitty Masloff, Diana Menzer, Bernard Mogul, Janice Morgan, Jack Morris, Alan Moskowitz, Murray Edward Moss, Dennis Munjak, Philip Nalabatsky, Larry Nix, Donald Optican, Richard Polanski, Leah Pozil, Toby Price, Rose Reiser, Harry Samuel Ralston, Larry Rosenblum, Frank Rosenblum, Robert Schlossberg, Carolyn Schwartz, Dana Schwartz, Meyer Schwartz, Robert Siegel, Doris Silver, Jerry Sinclair, George Stein, Bernard Tarrin, Barry Tillis, William Troy, David Walder, Tom Wallach, Leah Wurtzel, Michael Zuckerman, Bertram Robert Zweig. Any other names of people whom you're remembering, names you'd like to add? If you are in the period of Shiva or Shloshim, period of 7 days or 30 days since the passing of a loved one, if you could please rise this time. If you are in your first year of mourning, or you are here to commemorate a yahrzeit, if you could please rise at this time. And I ask all of us to please rise and stand with those as we think about all those who we are remembering and also those who died defending our country and the state of Israel. Again, page 294. Yitkadal v'kadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hiruteh ve'amlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemed kudisha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shamaya, v'chaim alenu ve'ol kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu ve'ol kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
We're going to conclude the words of Oseh Shalom. Feel free to put your arms around your loved ones, your neighbors, as we end in this prayer for peace on this Shabbat. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. We're going to invite our B'nai Mitzvah and their families up as we end in Kiddush and Motzi, and then we invite you to our wonderful Oneg to learn and explore and think about each of your legacies. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת חושך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים. לחיים, take a sip. And last but not least, we have a challah for each of your families.
Please lift those challahs nice and high.
Nice and high. Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.